Enough is enough!
DA and Mack snake their way through a fantasy draft every week.
I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday play.
The guys at 5 Star Weekend have snakes on the brain.
So we begin with the number 1 pick overall, and I will defer to you. Your team is in a white knuckler affair in a Game 7, so the least I can do is throw you a bone and give you the first pick overall in this snake draft. So who is your favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
I don't know how it can't be the Colorado Avalanche after the way they blew through the first round in 4 games, barely broke a sweat. They've been the best team in the league all year. The best all-around team. They can beat you multiple different ways, much like I was talking about with the Warriors earlier on the NBA side of things. It's going to be Colorado first overall.
Hard to pick against them. My number 2 and number 3 picks are going to be both from the Sunshine State. The Florida Panthers have been phenomenal all season long, and they move into the second round, and I think they've got something cooking. It's a complete team. They looked strong in the first series as well, and the Lightning surviving that Game 7 last night on the road. I know the Maple Leafs never make it out of the first round, but how am I going to pick against the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions? I think the winner of Panthers and Lightning is the best team standing in the Eastern Conference anyway.
Yeah.
So I love that series, and I think those two teams, I mean, again, the Lightning didn't have the type of season they had the last couple of seasons, but watching last night, I mean, boy, are they just not built for these types of moments and these types of kind of like winner go home playoff situations?
It's Clint Hurdle, who used to be the manager of the Pirates and the Rockies, always used to use the catchphrase of slow heartbeat. They've got a slow heartbeat in big moments, and you're right. That's exactly what the Tampa Bay Lightning have. My next 2 picks, since you took both of the Florida teams, and I was eyeing up both of them, I'll stay in the Western Conference. I think the Calgary Flames have shown the ability to win ugly hockey games throughout the first round against Dallas. I think they'll do it again tonight at home to close things out. And I think they're going to be a very stiff test for the Edmonton Oilers, which should be a phenomenal second round series. The Battle of Alberta, two fan bases that cannot stand each other, the irresistible force in the Oilers and that offense with McDavid and Draisaitl and everyone else, and the immovable object in the Calgary Flames. So give me Calgary and give me Carolina, because I think whoever they face in the next round, whether it's the Penguins or the Rangers, Carolina will be favored. And I think they've also started to show that although they've been sort of patchwork together, some very important deadline deals made by them. We've seen Max Domi come up big for them, especially yesterday, a deadline acquisition. But Rod Brind'Amour standing behind the bench also sort of always lends that air of calm, that slow heartbeat factor that I mentioned with Tampa. And I think Carolina has that as well. If they could face a pretty significant speed bump if they've got to continue to play without Freddie Anderson for the length of the playoffs, if they face an equally, if not more experienced team in the Penguins in the next round. But I'll take Carolina to go with Calgary in my next 2 picks.
And a pretty phenomenal home ice advantage.
Yes.
They were talking about that last night on the broadcast, that even though the Hurricanes don't have a huge fan base, trying to go down and play in Raleigh is a deafening experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got that home ice advantage thing going on. For the record, here's your numbers behind all of these picks. The Avalanche are plus 200 to win the Stanley Cup. They've got the best odds. Panthers are next up, plus 360. Hurricanes at plus 600. Lightning plus 650. Flames plus 900. That takes us to my next pick, and I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers. As you mentioned, one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league last night, and they survived moving into the second round. The Edmonton Oilers are plus 1,100. I'll take them as my 6th pick overall. And then it comes down to me, to the winner tonight of Rangers and Penguins, and I'm going to take the Rangers. I think they survive on home ice at MSG. As you said, a lot of question marks in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So give me the Rangers at number 7.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the other one for the final pick of our Snakes on the Brain. I'm going to take the Penguins. Admittedly, I am very cautiously optimistic about tonight's chances at Madison Square Garden for all the factors that we mentioned a couple minutes ago. Crosby and Jari should be back. That is a huge advantage for the Penguins as compared to where they've been in Game 6, especially in the back half of Game 5. Crosby has looked like vintage Sidney Crosby in this series, and really throughout the season. If he had played a full season, he'd have numbers on par with the McDavids and Matthews of the world. I think he's got the ability, if he's feeling 100%, which I can't imagine he isn't if he was dealing with concussion-type symptoms to keep him out of Game 6, coming back in Game 5 and playing it all in Game 6, that he's not 100%. He takes that stuff extremely seriously. So if they get vintage Sidney Crosby tonight, I think that's enough for them to outlast the Rangers in Game 7 and avoid collapsing from the 3-1 lead. And I think, again, the experience factor could be enough for them to somehow get past Carolina. Is it enough for them to get past Florida or Tampa in a possible Eastern Conference Final Series? I don't know. But again, we don't know what's going to happen to either one of those teams in that series. A pretty vicious rivalry at this point between those two teams. They will beat the heck out of each other for at least 6 games, I would think, Florida and Tampa. So the possibility that the Penguins could somehow sneak past one of those two in the Eastern Conference Finals.